Yo, what's good, everybody? You know what it is. It's your boy Manny Brown with the Dead End Sports MLB recap for this week. Well, it's safe to say that my New York Mets have not been feeling so amazing. They are 3-7 in their last 10 games, and they have fallen below 500 for the first time this season. And it's been a struggle, man. I don't want to make this too Mets centric. Obviously, we're doing a whole MLB recap, not just my favorite team. But hey, I got to start with the Mets, right? Um, like I said, man, they're 3-7 in the last 10 games. They haven't really played well, really since the end of that San Francisco series 2 weeks ago. They won the first two games of the series, then they lost on Saturday and Sunday, and then ever since then, the rails have just kind of been falling off this team, man. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Nationals. They didn't play well in that scenario there. They had a series against the Braves that was just washed out. They had a doubleheader last week where they lost the first game, won the second game, were competitive in both games, but still not a lot to be desired from a play standpoint. And then this week, you have two series against two of the worst teams in baseball, right? You have the Detroit Tigers. You're on the road against the Detroit Tigers, a team that is expected by most accounts to be a very bad team, and you get swept. And then you play the Colorado Rockies at home and you lose 2 out of 3. And then you lose the third game of that series, the rubber game of that series, after you basically get off to a good start. You're down 1-0, then you score 3 runs in the first inning. You come back, you think it's going to be a game that, the Mets are going to have in control. And then from there, the rails completely fall off. The rails completely fall off and they just struggle from there and they lose another game and another series that against a bad team that they should have won. So, yeah, this is a team that's got a lot of issues right now. When they pitch, they don't hit. When they hit, they don't pitch. When they hit and pitch, then the bullpen blows it. I mean, that's the recipe for a team that's just struggling right now. I'm I'm not worried, but I'm concerned, if that makes sense, because going into this season, the Mets were in a situation where I kind of felt like they were kind of feeling themselves a little bit too much. They kind of came into the season with this sense of, oh, we won 101 games. We were right there with the Braves, nip and tuck, toe to toe. Okay, we lost in a wild card series to the Padres, but no biggie. We'll just bring back the same team, make some minor updates, minor adjustments, minor modifications, but for the most part, we're good to go. We'll just redo it again. And there wasn't that sense of urgency. There wasn't that aggressiveness. There wasn't that feeling of, hey, yeah, we won 101 games, but we still need to put pedal to the metal. We still need to improve this roster. We still need to edify some things. We're a team that struggles to hit the long ball, and we don't necessarily add any home run hitters into this lineup. We're a team that, you know, needs a little bit more bullpen depth, and they don't really add any more bullpen depth. Now, the bullpen, I'm not going to go too crazy with because, they did lose Edwin Diaz unexpectedly in the WBC. So the depth that they thought they were going to have in the back end of the bullpen is not there right now, and it probably won't be there for the entirety of the season. So I don't want to kill them too much on that. But at the end of the day, I just felt like they just had a really lax, really kind of we'll win we'll just show up and win 101 games again. And that's clearly not the case. Obviously they're struggling. And I think the other issue too is the age of the starting rotation, man. I mean, you start the season with Scherzer. Clearly he's not the same pitcher. And then Verlander on the DL. And Verlander looked good, outside of the 2 home runs he gave up in the first inning in his last start. He looked good. So listen, do I think the Mets can figure it out? Yes, I do think the Mets can figure it out. But am I a little concerned that there's a trend developing with this team where they're not as deep as we would have liked from the starting rotation standpoint? Their middle relief is an issue. The back end of the bullpen's been actually pretty good, but their middle relief is an issue. And then, of course, the big thing with the Mets is just their offense. They just don't score enough runs. They score runs, but they don't score by the long ball. They're still a team that's still too reliant. If Alonso doesn't hit the ball out of the ballpark or Lindor doesn't hit the ball out of the ballpark, they just don't have a lot of game breakers on that offense. I think a lot of Met fans are calling for the young kids to be called up. The Mets have 2 really good prospects already on the roster, 2 of their top prospects on the roster already in Brett Beatty and Francisco Alvarez. But, they've got 2 guys down in AAA that are killing it right now, and Ronnie Mauricio and Mark Vientos. They might want to bring those guys up just to spark the team. To me, they can't be any worse than with the production that you're getting from Daniel Vogelbach, right? Vogelbach, who's a DH on the team, who's a left-handed hitter who specializes on hitting righties. He's not a guy that you trust every day. And that's the thing. They're trying to get everyday production from a guy who at best is a platoon player, a guy that you maybe throw out there for a couple of bats, maybe a couple bats a week, maybe a guy that off the bench in a big situation against a lefty, against a righty. I just I think it's time to start considering all those options, maybe bringing up some of those kids and letting them kind of spark the team. But if not, listen, the Mets have a lot of issues right now, and the offense isn't getting better, at least in the near future, especially if you keep playing Vogelback and some of these other stiffs. And the pitching is a real concern. Last year they were able to withstand it because they had that pitching depth. Carrasco wasn't on the DL, on the IL. Walker was pitching well and healthy. So they had those reinforcements there. The guys that were reinforcements last year, like David Peterson, just hasn't been able to figure it out. So yeah, it's an issue right now for the Mets, man. If you're a Mets fan right now, it's definitely a concern. I don't think it's a worry. I don't think it's panic. I don't think you're sitting there saying, "Oh my God, this team is going to underachieve and they're going to lose, 85 games or whatever." No, I don't. I'm not going to get that crazy. I still think there's talent on this team to fix this, but they've got to really start considering some things, and they just got to play better. They just really got to play better. The other thing to look back on this week is the Dodgers and the Padres series, man. That was an exciting, entertaining series, man. And those two teams, you could just tell, man, that is the series and the rivalry that is going to define this baseball season, especially on the National League side of things in that division, man. Those are two of the probably the two or the three or four best teams in the sport, and they're battling, six more times, I believe. Obviously, with the scheduling kink this year, where all 30 teams play each other, that you're not going to have those divisional rivalries where they're going to play 14, 15, 19 times or whatever. So those matchups have drawn down significantly. So, but I mean, if this weekend series is anything to indicate that this is going to be a battle all season long, man. These two teams, they're evenly matched. They're really good. Tatis is back now for the Padres. He's helped them. He sparked them a little bit. But the Dodgers, man, give them credit. A lot of people, even myself, looked at the Dodgers this year and I was like, I don't know. If they were ever going to have a down year, this might be the year. The Dodgers, they lost a lot of pieces. They didn't sign Trey Turner. They don't have Max Scherzer anymore, obviously. Clayton Kershaw, does he have anything left in the tank? There was a lot of questions surrounding the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have put a lot of those things to rest. They're still the Dodgers, man. They still at least in the regular season, they've got it all figured out, man. They just know what they're doing. And Mookie Betts is a tremendous baseball player. They're getting a lot out of the kid Outman in center field. The Dodgers, Max Muncy looks like he's back to form. Freddie Freeman is Freddie Freeman. I mean, listen, the Dodgers are just the Dodgers, man. And I think at the end of the day, they're going to be right there at the top of that division. The Padres will be there too. I'm not buying into the D-backs. I'm not, the Giants have their own issues. Obviously, the Rockies are the Rockies, but I think at the end of the day, I think you're going to see a season-long battle, kind of similar to what the Mets and the Braves had last year. I think you're going to see a season-long battle with the Dodgers and the Padres to see who wins that division. And I think, listen, I wouldn't bet against the Dodgers. I know it's crazy to say that now, but I just wouldn't bet against them, man. I just think that they are the standard bearer in the sport for the last decade, and rightfully so. They just know how to win that division, man. So I don't think this year will be any different. But the Padres will have something to say about that for sure. And the last thing, man, the Cardinals, man. Who would have thought that on May 8th, you'd be sitting there saying that the Cardinals, one of the darlings of the sports, one of the blue bloods, one of the teams that a lot of people felt like was a sneaky World Series contender, 11-24, last place in that division, 13 games under 500. The Cardinals have just been everything that could go wrong for the Cardinals has gone wrong for the Cardinals. I don't want to say, listen, you can start saying that they're going to not miss the they're going to miss the postseason. I don't want to say that just yet, but listen, they've got, we talked about the Mets and their struggles. The Cardinals really need to start figuring this out, because if they bury themselves any point, they get 15, 16, 17 games over 500, at some point you really got to start saying like, this season is a lost season. And it's crazy to think about with the Cardinals, man. I mean, they just had Oliver Marmol, the manager. I still to this day don't understand that hire. Firing Mike Schild, especially coming off a season where they won, 19, 20 games in a row. That I just never understood that hire. and he just hasn't distinguished himself to be a big time manager. I know they won the division last year, but that was more the Brewers falling apart than the Cardinals. And they've just been struggling, man. They sent the big kid Jordan Walker down, who was was supposed to be the second coming and a phenom. They sent him down. He was struggling. They just had some injuries. Now they have some sort of controversy with Contreras and whether the team told him that, they wanted him to play center field and he doesn't want to play center field. It's just a lot going on for that team right now. And listen, they're in a danger zone right now because if they put themselves in a situation where they fall too deep in last place and fall too far down 500, even the Cardinals, there's going to become a point where this season is going to become a lost season. I still think they have a chance. I mean, they're in a very winnable, easy division. I know we talked about it a couple weeks with the Pirates, but do you really think the Pirates are that team that is just going to be able to hold off a team like the Cardinals? I think we still have to see that to believe it. But right now, I just think the Cardinals are in some serious trouble right now. They're in a winnable division. Like I said, they're in a very winnable division. It's not a division that's too impossible, but if they get themselves too deep in last place, I think it could be a problem for them. And then who knows? That opens it up to, maybe they put some of those veterans on the trade block. Who knows? They do have a lot of young talent. I just think the Cardinals are just a fascinating team to watch over the summer as, if they're not able to right the ship, who knows what happens with that team. But all right, man, I'm Stop Blabbering. As always, man, like and subscribe to the Dead End Sports channel. Like and subscribe, like this video, subscribe to Dead End Sports. Make sure you're checking out all of the Dead End Sports videos. Dead End Sports live every Tuesday, live and on YouTube. And thank you for supporting us. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I'm your boy Manny Brown, and I'm out of here. Peace.